Hello, what's happening? Alright, so today's a good day. Got a lot of stuff on my checklist done early. Um, Ultimately, I'm doing this one. I don't know if this one's going to go for the consultant Freeman Services or if this is going to go in the vlog. I'll decide somewhat after, depending on how long this is. But I really just wanted y'all to see the cows because I want people to know I don't be capping. I really don't. I do my best not to. It's consequences are tough, and I don't like harsh consequences. I'm not a fan of them. Early morning though, worked on the car. Got to get some parts. It's an old baby, but she's doing her thing. Car parts ain't cheap, So just using some tips and tricks that I picked up along the way, just to hold me down. Take care of that. There's a lot going on in the world. This whole Joy Taylor situation. I mean, I get it. When I first seen her years ago, back in high school, I didn't care for her. I thought she was very condescending, especially to people that are actually in a world that she has no idea about. She can't even compete in. As a teen, I thought she wasn't even qualified. Let it go. She had her podcast interview, and I tuned out of it after like 30 minutes. I'm like, this is all BS. Years later, it's coming out. But here's the thing. Even though I seen it coming, it was like, it's not going to change anything. There are always going to be simps in the world, and there are always going to be women that understand that they can maneuver and manipulate the situation the best they can and use the tools that they got, sometimes out of good faith and sometimes out of bad faith. And that's just what people are going to do. There's that going on right now. I hope the audio is coming out pretty good. I was going to check, but it's all right. I'm just doing it straight shot and all that good stuff. It's cold, super cold. And I got to stop saying but I'll get there. What else is going on? Ooh, Trudeau, him resigning. Yeah, Canada. I mean, it would be very nice if Canada becomes a 51st state. I mean, talk about super mega travel, but it's no surprise to me. When you look back in the history books, this continent was a lot more unified when it came to borderlands. There were tribes, and there was a lot of nuance within that. However, there was a wiser understanding about leadership and how things and dynamics played out when it came to the rest of the world. What else? Let's talk about this money stuff. Yes, we are seeing a weird transition of power. I do not think this is peaceful. This is a backhanded transition of power. No, I do not believe that it is Biden doing all of this. Biden doesn't even look competent enough to keep breathing on his own. If he is, my oh my. However, what it seems to be is that the party is doing the best they can to sabotage. And I've been alluding to this for years now. I love our immigrants and whatnot, but when it comes to America and it comes to these positions of power, there has to be a level of bias. We do not live at a time now where we can be all lackadaisical with how we run things. America is a world-leading country, and things have gotten really good. And what wisdom tells you is when times get good, the need for discipline is at an all-time high. The stakes for discipline increase. As things get better, we have more resources, more food, things of that nature. Whether the food is healthy or not, the ability to eat is increased. However, we still need more discipline, and that discipline is understanding that when it comes to America,
I have ran out of storage.
But picking up where I was leaving off at, there's nothing new under the sun. When you look back at history, and not just the history that's spoon-fed to you, but when you put on your Indiana Jones cap and you actually go out there into the environment and learn from the world itself and from the planet itself, you come to find that we've had leadership and discipline at astronomical levels that our ancestors had displayed and actually lived by, to where things function at a much better plateau. So, there's other things I want to get into, but they're conversations for another day, very complex. But in other news, here are the cows. I don't want to show you too much because there's all kinds of information in the world for you to find people and whatnot. There's cows on the other side of that ring. Yeah, just so you see. You know, trying to stay in the sun. But with all that said, with this transition of power, we are certainly seeing that it's not peaceful. It's very much saboteur-esque. The nature of it is very backhanded, shutting down the oil rigs, whatnot, just very sabotage-like. More money being shipped out, the wildfires in California going on. We could look at that from a physical standpoint and just say, well, it looks like there was a lot of incompetence. People got hired for the job that wasn't competent and it wasn't based off merit. And merit doesn't necessarily mean, ooh, this is somebody that gets straight A's, this is somebody that's picture perfect. No, sometimes you want somebody that struggles, somebody that's willing to accept failures and say, yeah, I failed. But the difference is I failed on my own 2 feet, pushing with all I had and all I have to give, and whether you accept me or not, I'm not going to feel bad. There's some merit within that. You know, not many people can accept failures to that degree. A lot of people can succeed without putting in adequate effort. We live in a time where we can get around a lot of things. Like right now, like, oh my gosh, I remember vividly being in college. This is around 2018, 2019, and chat GPT, early forms of it, AI is coming out, and I seen it early, and that was also one of the things that aided into me leaving. I'm in English class, and people are writing their essays using AI, and they're changing the words around, and this is before the professor started getting algorithms to detect AI assistants. At the time, they only had the algorithms for just plagiarism. You know, so don't get me wrong, I did what I could to do what I can and whatnot, and I'm not admitting to plagiarism. I'm saying I did what I could to put my best foot forward and be honorable and not cheating the game. However, I knew people were doing it, and I'm like, this is going to, you know, this is going to soil the waters and whatnot. And we're starting to see that now. Professors are quitting, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, my generation, Gen Z. I'm more millennial in maturity and ideology. I have elder siblings, elder cousins and whatnot, and I spent a lot of time with them than my own peers, so my behavior, my thought pattern is a lot different. However, you got professors saying Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they can't read, they can't write, and I don't think that's the case. It's just not the cookie cutter that, you know, generations are used to and were judged by in their day, you know, to get these jobs and whatnot. I remember being in college and I'm writing essays, and the professor is like, you have great thought, but you're not doing what's asked of you. And I'm like, well, how does that make sense? If the thought is provoking and it's still on topic, then I kind of am doing what's asked of me, and I'm doing everything I can. I'm doing everything you want. It's just not what the guidelines want. You're not looking for merit. You're looking for, you know, obedience. Obedience doesn't necessarily make the best decisions when it comes down to it, because they're not put in a position to come from an organic aspect. But with all this transition of power and all this good stuff, things are changing on the fly. I also want to drive home the point when it comes to the finances. I'll see you later, cows. Gotta talk to the animals. When it comes to the finances, we are not going to see a major change for a couple years. Like, the trickle down effect is a lot slower than what people are anticipating. So this is really the time to anchor in and save what you can. Get your jobs, because it's going to be very lucrative. It's going to be lucrative, especially if Trump and that party behind him can really anchor down and get that no taxes situation going, especially on the overtime. Ooh, man, you are going to see an influx of productivity, and that will help the market a lot. But yeah, overall, America is going through a lot of growth pains. The America today is not the America of yesterday. When I say that, I mean prior to colonization. We are a young country, and young countries are going to deal with young consequences. Yeah, being out where I'm at, you hear everything. There's no building, so I keep turning thinking somebody's nearby, and it could be a car a mile, 3 miles away. So yeah, I want to drive that home. It's a lot going on right now, and it's going to keep happening like that. again, this is where the physical then has to be explained with metaphysical aspects, and this is what gets people uncomfortable because you can't see the unseen, and a lot of people have a hard time trusting what's unseen. But what I try to do to even remind myself, because at times I got to remember, don't get so superficial. The same way, right, the universe is talking because they know I'm about to drive this point home. The same way we cannot see the wind until it acts on something tangible, there are energies at play that we do not see that are always acting on the tangible. And we know the wind is there. Right now, we are experiencing, on the West Coast, they are experiencing winds that are pushing fires, and they got all the water on the West Coast and they can't use none of it. Where I'm at right now, it is super cold, and I'm underdressed because where I'm at, it's usually a lot warmer, especially during this time of year. It's a lot warmer. So this might go into the vlog. I might throw this into the consultant Freeman Services. It's a good time length for the consultant Freeman Services. But this is just, a portion of the observation I'm seeing, taking in all the information. I also want to talk on other stuff when it comes to the job markets and sports as well. I just seen a video of some guy talking about the DB backpedal and the foot fire and saying how it's basically not effective. That is not a wise take. That foot fire drill is created because it was created because majority of football fields were played on grass and dirt. So when the weather got bad and it became muddy, you did the foot fire drill. Now everything is on turf. They tell you to plant and go. However, there's still wisdom in maintaining and upkeeping that foot fire drill, because say you're on turf and you actually meet a wide receiver that isn't lazy with his routes and doesn't have to do all the quick moves and bail out on his routes to get open because the pocket is collapsing. When you meet a wide receiver that actually reps what he's supposed to rep and rep these routes out, you use that foot fire to buy you time. As a DB, you have the hardest job on the field. You may not ever get credit for it, especially not in the media. I know playing DB and playing against great talent, you want to buy yourself as much time as possible. You're playing backwards. You don't know what's coming for you. The offense knows what they're going to do. You don't know what the offense is going to do. That foot fire allows you time to make your right angle adjustments. See that foot? I get it. We see people in the NFL doing certain things, and even in the NFL, it's getting a lot sloppier because the little things aren't being done the way they used to. Everything is being fast-fed, spoon-fed, and just being pushed out and given to you to keep you entertained. You got to do the little things. You can't let go of the little things. When you want to start getting fancy, that's where mistakes are made. That foot fire drill also prevents you from getting your ankles broken. And that it's one thing to try to cover a man who bailed out on his route and he's just making up anything to get open. In his backyard football, you can't get but so mad at the DB at that point. But when a man is, if your receiver is running an out and up and he beats you and you got your ankles broken, there's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for that. And that's what makes the job of a DB super hard. However, there are things that prevents that. You're in your back pedal, you do your plant, you go down, you take a short angle, because once you plant that foot, your next step is where you're going to go. And if it's short, you're wrong. And if you overshot and he does a double move, you're beat. Now you got to speed turn, cover yourself, and you're getting embarrassed. And this is where you get these high scoring games because you're not doing the little things. Shout out to my coaches back in high school. I wish they pushed me, and did a little more advocating for me to play in college, to other schools and whatnot. But they did the best they could. I'm not mad at it. I'm super gracious for these things. And I've played against and with great talent. I say it to the top of my lungs. Shout out Travis Jones. He's doing his thing right now. I just seen a video. People are expecting him to be the, ultimately and possibly one of the greatest nose tackles to ever come through Baltimore. That's high honors. My man Donnie Gray at Northwestern, he was a freshman my senior year, and we just try to show him to be a sponge and how to. And my thing was, even with the rest of the team, even down to Travis, having that silence, that silent observation that looks almost innate, like you have an innate nose and a sixth sense for getting to the ball and making a play, but it's really just having that silent observation that breeds genuine confidence. I've played against Will Levis. People are shooting him down, but you need a good team when you're a true quarterback that's a pocket passer like a Peyton Manning. See, people are pooping or shitting on Will Levis. I'm trying not to swear, but yeah. People are shitting on Will Levis, but it's like, hey man, you need a great line if you want an offense that's a pocket passing offense. You got rid of your running back in Derrick Henry to where you can bail out and run a spread or run a shotgun, and you can just hand off and with a 5-man front, and that running back is going to hit the hole and get you 4-6 yards every carry. You got rid of that. They're trying to find the right running back to fit that scheme, but ultimately they are an aerial team, and you got to have a strong front line that communicates very well, that's willing to do the little things and is willing to get dirty, willing to let that snot fly through their face mask, building up and fortifying that wall. And it's not an easy task when you got DNs and nose tackles just as strong as you, bull rushing, swatting your hands down, and you're sitting there being, that barrier. It's not easy. And again, you got to have receivers that do the little things, that sit there and take pride in running that 5-yard out and up and making sure that corner is sharp. That's why you have these foot fire drills. You see so many routes being rounded out, because I get it, the game is faster, but when you don't do the little things and you're running at a faster pace, you're bound to get sloppy, and that's when things start to break down, and then even the aerial game doesn't even work. These routes, hey, what do I know? I'm not in the league. I scrub toilets for a living. Well, used to. So what I'm getting at, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, a lot of things to be observed, a lot of things to talk about. I'd love to have more time to talk about these things, but I need y'all to do that. And this is where, I'm finally embracing who I am and being a lot more, not so much cocky, but just more vocal about it. I always let people talk their shit, let people put me down and whatnot. I can't do that no more. This is my life to live. What type of example would I be, and I don't have to sit there and do anything out of bad faith and put somebody else down, but this is where you guys come into play. Your likes, your comments, your shares, your subscribes, your DMs. Ask me some questions. Pick my brain. If you guys don't do that, how could I ever grow? And then how could we actually get information around and circulating into the world for others to grow as well? So let's make this happen. I'm feeling it. I'm liking it. I'm glad y'all got to see the cows, so y'all know this is like, I'm putting in the work slowly but surely. I work behind the scenes. I do what I got to do. I'm willing to get down and dirty with the rest of us on the ground level, but I'm also willing to take my shower and walk into the office and sit down and do the paperwork. That's basically what I was raised to do. I watched my daddy do it. He led by example. Not by any means was he a perfect man. I watched my mom do it, lead by example. Not by any means that she was a perfect woman, but damn it, it rubbed off on me well. I kept very true to my father's one wish, and is that, when all is said and done, I end up being better than both him and my mother. And that wish isn't fully completed yet because I'm not dead. So I got to keep going, and it's not about getting all the money in the world from me either. That doesn't necessarily breed success, and hear me clearly, money is necessary to make things easier. We don't live in a world where we could just do away with money, where the snowball effect is too big, and we don't want that snowball bursting. No. We don't want that avalanche crushing us. Let's keep it controlled at this point. We need money to make things easier. However, money is not my ultimate source of happiness or fulfillment. I control that. And making these goals for myself and setting forth the new one, they all don't have to be Mount Everest sized goals, just goals that I could knock down and then sit back and say, I'm proud of you, Jay, and then take the time to build a new one. And that's what puts me in a position to where I can have conversations like this and sit here and talk to you and say, hey man, ask me some questions. because maybe I might be on the wrong track. Probably not. However, if I am, that conversation will help create the opening for better direction and whatnot. This was fun. This was great. It is super cold. My fingers are swelling up to the size of sausages all over again. Like I said, I was out here earlier working on a car, chopping some wood. I don't personally think it's going to do all that much winter weathering where I'm at. Yeah, I see. I'm doing my best to not tell y'all where I'm at. You can figure it out. But I'm not just going to outright say it. I like my privacy. I like my comforts. However, don't think it's going to do that much winter weathering, but just staying prepared and just making it happen. It's super cold. Let me get up out of here. Ciao.